The Galactic Academy's administration building fell silent when Kalen walked through the entrance doors. Behind him trotted three creatures that made every non-human in the corridor freeze in instinctive terror. They were massive, even as juveniles. Sleek bodies covered in golden fur with black rosettes. Powerful shoulders that rolled with each step. Eyes that tracked movement with predatory precision. Fangs visible even when their mouths were closed in what could only be described as grins. Absolutely not, Administrator Thex Quinn declared, all four of his eye stalks rigid with alarm. The regulations clearly state that emotional support animals must be harmless species. Those are apex predators. Kalen smiled, the same easy expression he always wore when dealing with galactic bureaucracy. They're completely harmless. Look at them. The largest of the three cubs sat down and yawned, displaying teeth designed to crush bone. The smallest one started grooming its paw with a tongue that could strip flesh from carcass. The middle cub, the one Kalen had introduced as Vash, tilted its head and made a rumbling sound that vibrated through the floor panels. That noise, a Veltraxian instructor whispered, mandibles chattering with fear. That is a threat display. That's purring, Kalen corrected gently. It means he's content. Thexquin's carapace darkened to a distressed purple. Human Kalen, these creatures are from your homeworld, correct? The Death World classified as Hazard Level 9. Earth, yes. They're called jaguars. Kalen reached down and scratched Vash behind the ear. The cub leaned into the touch, the purring intensifying until nearby datapads rattled on their charging stations. And on your Death World, what ecological niche do these jaguars occupy? They're ambush predators. Strongest bite force relative to size of any big cat on Earth. They can crush turtle shells and caiman skulls in their jaws. The corridor emptied rapidly as several species suddenly remembered urgent appointments elsewhere. And you brought three of them to an educational institution filled with species that evolved as prey animals. Thexquin's voice climbed several octaves higher than his species' normal range, but Kalen's expression remained patient. They're cubs. They're still learning. That's exactly why they need to be here. Learning to hunt, you mean. Learning to be gentle. The administrator's eye stalks twisted in confusion. Explain. Kalen knelt down between the three cubs. Vash immediately pressed against his side, while the other two competed for position, their massive paws placed carefully to avoid scratching their human companion. On Earth, jaguars are solitary apex predators. But these three are different. Their mother was killed by poachers when they were very young. I've been raising them since they were tiny enough to fit in my hands. That does not make them safe. No, Kalen agreed. But it makes them socialized. They've never learned to see smaller creatures as prey. They've learned to see them as friends who need protection. As if to demonstrate, a small maintenance drone buzzed past at floor level. All three cubs tracked it with their eyes, bodies tensing. Then Vash made a soft chirping sound, and the others relaxed, returning their attention to Kalen. That chirp, Thex Quinn said slowly. What was that? That was Vash telling the others not to chase. He's the leader. The other two looked to him for cues on how to behave. And how did he learn to give that particular signal? Kalen smiled. I taught him. Just like I'm teaching all three of them that their strength is for protecting, not hunting. That their power is a responsibility. A small Pishian student, barely knee-high to Kalen, peeked around the corner. The species was often compared to Earth rabbits, complete with long ears and large eyes optimized for detecting predators. Every instinct the Pishian possessed screamed to run. The jaguars were natural predator profile in every respect. Size, teeth, claws, forward-facing eyes, the works. But curiosity won over fear. The Pishian crept forward. Student Miri, no. Thex Quinn shouted. Too late. The Pishian was already within pouncing distance. Vash turned his massive head toward the small creature. His siblings did the same. Three sets of predator eyes locked onto prey-sized movement. Kalen didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched. Vash lowered his head until he was eye level with Miri. Then, deliberately, slowly, he extended one huge paw and gently touched the Pishian's shoulder. The purring started again, deeper this time. A sound meant to be felt more than heard. Miri's fear scent faded. Tiny paws reached up and touched Vash's face, tracing the patterns in his fur. They're beautiful, Miri whispered. They are, Kalen agreed. And they know you're a student here. That makes you part of their family now. They'll protect you the same way they protect me. Thexquin's eye stalks drooped in resignation. This is highly irregular. Most of human culture is irregular by galactic standards, Kalen pointed out. That's why I'm here. To study xenopsychology. To understand how different species think and feel. And to show that predator and prey can coexist when there's trust and proper training. And if they attack someone, they won't. Kalen's voice carried absolute certainty. Because they understand what I've taught them. That being strong means protecting those who are weaker. That having power means choosing not to use it to hurt others. That being a predator doesn't mean you have to be a killer. Miri was now sitting between all three cubs, completely surrounded by apex predators, giggling as they groomed the Piscian's ears with surprising gentleness. More students began appearing in the corridor. Word had spread. A human had brought Death Worlders to the academy, and somehow, impossibly, the smallest and most vulnerable students were safe in their presence. That a Veltraxian instructor approached cautiously, antennae quivering. Human Kalen, how is this possible? My species spent millions of years evolving specifically to avoid predators like these. Because they're not like wild predators, Kalen explained. They've been raised with love instead of hunger. They've learned that connection is more valuable than conquest. That being trusted is better than being feared. Vash looked up at Kalen, golden eyes reflecting something that seemed remarkably like understanding. The cub opened his mouth in that distinctive jaguar grin, all teeth and contentment, and made a sound between a chirp and a purr. Kalen scratched under Vash's chin. Besides, humans have been doing this for thousands of years. We took wolves, animals that hunted our ancestors, and turned them into dogs. We're very good at teaching predators to be family. Thexquin cycled through several colors before settling on a resigned beige. There will be conditions. Extensive conditions. Of course. They must remain under your direct supervision at all times. Naturally, any sign of aggression, and they're confined to your quarters. There won't be any aggression. But agreed. And you must demonstrate, repeatedly, that they can be trusted around all species enrolled here. Kalen gestured to where Vash was now lying on his back, while Miri and three other small students took turns petting his belly. The massive predator's purring had become so loud it was audible 3 corridors away. I think Vash is already working on that demonstration. The administrator's eye stalk sagged. Humans are going to be the end of galactic safety regulations. Or the beginning of a new understanding, Kalen suggested. That harm and harmless aren't about what you are. They're about what you choose to be. Vash rolled back to his feet, carefully avoiding crushing any of the small students clustered around him. He padded over to Thexquin and sat directly in front of the administrator, head tilted in what might have been curiosity. The Zeltharian's survival instinct screamed. Every evolutionary adaptation his species possessed warned him that he was facing a creature designed to kill things much larger than himself. But Vash simply sat there, patient, waiting, slowly, with one trembling eye stalk. Thexquin reached out and touched the cub's head. The purring started immediately, accompanied by that distinctive jaguar grin. Harmless, Kalen repeated softly, because they choose to be. And for the first time in galactic history, apex predators walked the halls of learning alongside prey species, proving that humans understood something the rest of the galaxy was only beginning to discover. That the deadliest creatures could become the gentlest guardians when raised with love instead of violence. When taught that strength was measured not by what you could destroy, but by what you chose to protect.